Sequence U1, U2, and U3 is identified as follows. So here's the generic formula for this. Do you know how this formula works? Somebody pick me a value of n. Any value, doesn't matter. 40? Grand, I'll use 40. N equals 40. Okay. Now, because n equals 40, what we're going to do is I'm going to say that this formula now equals what? U41, does everybody see U41? Is U40 over U39. Does everybody get the gist? So by that logic, U3 is actually the same as what? U2 over U1, that's it. And do you know what U2 and U1 are? Huh? Yeah. The amount of people that will get, a lot of people will get spooked by this type of question, but it's actually ridiculously easy. You just do what's a 64 over 2 and square root the answer. So what's a 64 over 2? Now, there is a tricky part at the end. Does everybody see 4 root 2 as my answer? Now, there is a kicker on this. Here's the kicker. It wants the answer presented as a power of 2. And here's how we're going to do this. Once again, the 4 root 2 should be high partial credit. Okay? What you change 4 into? 2 to the power of? What you change root 2 into? 2 to the power of a half. Addition rule? 2.5, yeah. Or 2 to the power of 2.5. Or it could be written, I'd write that as 2 to the power of 5 over 2. Okay? And here's a quick flash of the marking scheme. 2 steps correct gets you 7 out of 10. And finishing off the indice will get you 10 out of 10. That will get you full marks. We all good? I'm disappointed if we didn't get 7 out of 10 there, I'm being honest. Okay? It just looks frightening, yeah. Now this one looks really frightening. But what you need to remind yourself, all right? I currently haven't got a clue how to do this question. I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't got a clue. But I remember one thing. What is an arithmetic sequence? Let's set up an arithmetic sequence that we were familiar with. What about I'll do 2, 5, 8, right? Just want to have a start of 2 and a gap of 3. Is that okay? Now, the only thing I remember about arithmetic sequences that might help me here is that T3 take away is equal to T2 take away T1. And we're going to have to set up some form of equation, aren't we? So, in a way, that sets up the equation, doesn't it? So what I'm going to say is that 5e to the k, which is T3, minus 13, is the same as what? Minus 5e to the minus k. You cool with that? Yeah. That's a valid attempt. And I think that valid attempt would get you, 3 out of 10. Yeah, it could probably get you 3 out of 10 or something like that. So there's 3 different methods, so it's hard to correct, but I think it could get you low partial anyway. It gets you 3 out of 10 just by doing that. The one move you had available to you. Okay, next thing. Do you see the way it says y equals e to the k? What would be a good attempt at trying to get the mid partial here? Change that to 5. Is that all right? Now there is a problem here. That's not e to the k. That's e to the minus k. Is there any way you can change e to the minus k to e to the k? Negative power rule. Anybody remember negative power rule? What's x to the minus 2? 1 over x squared. What's e to the minus 5? 1 over. Therefore, e to the minus k is 1 over. And by that logic, it's 1 over. It's 1 over y. So it's 5 times 1 over y. Everybody see that? Which is minus 5 over y. All right. Now that was the hard part. Now, okay. Give everything a common denominator of what? y on top, y on the bottom, y on top, y on the bottom, y on top, y on the bottom. 5y squared, yeah? Bring the 13y comes over and changes to 2 minus 13y gives you minus 26y. Then minus 5 goes from the right to the left as, and we now have our quadratic equation. Okay, I think the next part will be solve this equation. Now, do you know what the great thing is, lads? You did not need to do B part 1 to be able to do B part 2. They actually gave you the quadratic. They gave you 5y squared minus 26y and what's a plus 5? Equal to 0, yeah? And reference number 5 times 5 is 25. We go for, you can use the quadratic formula if you want. Doesn't bother me. So some people are using the minus b formula for this. I'm just going to factorize. And to be honest, this one's a difficult enough one, so maybe the quadratic formula would be similar in time. So y equals 5 and the other one would be 5y equals 1 and y equals 1, 5. Now, let's reread the question here. They don't want y. What do they want? K. And what did they say in the last part? Part 2 or part 1? Y equals e to the k. So what we do is we're about to put in e to the k is 1/5 and e to the k is 5, yeah? And now we're going to reread the question. There's a mention of ln. LMP or minus LMP. Do you see that? So we're going to ln both sides. And you guys are pretty good at this, as we all learned, right? ln, 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 and ln. Now, bring the k to the front. What do we get? K ln e, but we know that ln e is 1. And what's the other answer? And then same question here, isn't it? K equals. But they want it as LMP and, but we know that LMP is actually ln 5, so we know that P is 5. How do I convert to fifth? Anybody know the division, log rail division? Sorry, just 1 second, right? What's log 9 over 5? Log 9. By that logic, what's ln 1 over 5? And here's the kicker. What's log 1 in the calculator? 0. So one answer is minus ln 5, and the other answer is plus ln 5.